welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4 riders.
The peloton in this Category 4 race has absolutely been decimated by the fast pace of Tannigan, Koking, Vink and Fernanda. They are now sweeping up the Category 2 back markers, and those back markers are just jumping in with the back of this group for as long as they possibly can. So our Category 3 riders here, if they could turn their heads and take a look, they would see that Category 2 group coming. They are coming fast and furious behind them and about to make this catch. No real need or drive from anybody to attack this group and to push this pace. So this pace is comfortable and it is allowing those Category 2 riders the benefit of it. Further down the road, in fact, just shy of 3 kilometres down the road, is Koking. Koking is indeed at the front of this race. Brogan has gone on the attack. Moreno is pushing and chasing. Menendez is there as well. But Brogan and Moreno have gone clear. They're only 2 seconds clear at the moment, but they have utilised the changing gradient. She has managed to stay clear. She put in an early attack and absolutely put the gauntlet down for everybody today. She said she was going early, she went early, and this is her race finish. So Mary Joyce Koking comes over the line for the win in the Category 4 race.
So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier race number 3. It's the 15th of January 2023. We're here for the women's race. We've already seen a cracking men's race with some explosive action. Make sure you have a watch back. On that, you'll hear myself, Matt Payne, and of course, Emma, who joins me here once again. Emma, welcome back into the studio. I know we've had a little bit of a gap, and it's been a pretty fast and frenetic January so far on our women's racing. And our women's race time was 58 minutes for our Category 1 winner last time. Do you think it'll be as quick on this course?
Do you know, we've got a different course today, Matt, and we've had different winners every week so far throughout January. So I think it's going to be a really interesting race today. So we are on the Aluha Heritage Climb finish today for today's Women's Sunday Race Club. 35 kilometres of distance, 425 metres of climbing, and 2 climbs today. The first one coming quite early at 4.3 kilometres into this race today. Not particularly steep. 2.4 kilometres in length, an average gradient of 1.9%. The pack are hardly going to notice it. And then some rolling terrain before at 30.2 kilometres we hit that final climb of the day. It's a Category 3 climb. It's 4.8 kilometres, 5.4% average gradient, and the finish is at the top, and there are some very steep segments on that climb today.
It's going to be really interesting to see who has their climbing legs at the end of the race. Remember, we have 4 race starts. Our Category 1 riders in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue. And our Category 4 riders will be the first away. They are in the red jerseys. And as you can see, we're just taking a little look at Ella Vink in the red jerseys. They're just under 30 seconds to race start. And a great race field, Em.
It is indeed. We've got 15 riders on the start sheets today, and the Fire Girls are the team today on the start sheets, with Gallego and Giraldo in there in those red jerseys for the Fire Girls.
Let's see who's going to take this out. So here we go. The start of Sunday Race Club qualifier number 3 of 4 qualifiers. Category 4 underway. We're riding in with Ella Vink, one of our royal fast riders, and with Tandigan Koking in there, Daglio in as well. I think Vink is going to be up against it, Fernanda in, and really seeing the same names starting to emerge, but such different terrain. We see different riders at different sections being really to the fore.
Yeah, we do indeed. So Koking, Lenore, Giraldo, Fernanda, These riders really strong. We've got other strong riders in this pack. We've got Agudelo in here on the start sheets, Tandinger's on the start sheets, Hyde's on the start sheets. You know, these are really good, strong riders regularly in the top 5, and that top 5 changes each week. We've got strong riders like Vink and Hyde in there, Tanding and Coking, but you know what? They are not always at the front of the pack.
And these riders needing to get in 2 verified rides in their races today to then get through qualifying and into the final. So a verified ride, for those people who don't know the lingo. Basically, our riders at the moment are live on the race route. That result on the website that you can find on MyWhoosh.com is live currently. It then becomes an unverified result, an unofficial race result, until all the riders verify their ride. And that is done by making sure that they submit all the weight with videos, they submit their second data recording to ensure that there are no anomalies in there, there's nothing that's changed the performance. And that might not be anything that the riders are aware of. It literally could be a change in the humidity, spikes the power meter. Different turbo trainers and power meters are susceptible to things like that. And if that happens, then that will change how the ride goes. And if that is the case, it will be that they get their result either annulled or disqualified, depending on what it causes it to do. In which case, they have to make sure they've got another ride in, because they need 2 rides out of the month to go into the finals.
They do indeed. They need 2 verified rides to qualify for the finals, as it looks like we had a couple of riders there just off the back of that group, but they look like, no, they haven't actually joined. They are indeed now off the back of the group. So we've got a rider down the road. Coking has gone early. Vink is chasing her. Fernanda is there. We've got a group of riders pushing on at the front, and this pack is not going to stay together for a long time, I don't think, in this Category 4 race. It looks like it's going to be a very aggressive race today.
Well, they need to have a think about this, because we have seen repeatedly in categories 3 and 4 solo riders trying to go clear and going clear and making it stick. But they also then need to bear in mind, what can they do and what level do they need to go at to ensure that they are able to get to the finish and get to that climb. Because last week we had multiple climbs with a relatively lower finish, with a little bit of a climb into the finish. Today we've got that big mountain top finish, and that changes how you ride the race, doesn't it?
It does indeed. Last week we were in Wollongong with 2 big steep climbs in the middle of the race, and then a 6.2 kilometre run into the finish. Today's race is very, very different, with our mountain top finish today. So it can be easily expected that riders could lose 1 or even 2 minutes on that final climb.
So let's see who chooses how to ride this carefully, who chooses their pacing and what they choose to do in that category 4 up and racing. And as you can see, already very active as they hit that 2 kilometre marker. Fernanda, Coking, Vink, your 3 riders at the front, but the group behind not all that far behind and chasing hard. Category 3, well, there are next riders to go. They're lined up on the start line. We're in with Zabala. Take us through the race field, Emma.
Yeah, so category 3 today. 10 riders on the start sheets today, 2 teams. We've got Team Golden Light and Climber Girls. So blue jerseys today. And, you know, yet again, Matt, really good race field. Ribaldo and Lopez have swapped the 1-2 in qualifier 1 and qualifier 2. So interesting to see who will take the win today. Barco, a very solid 3rd in the last 2 rounds. Cabanata, Quintero, Illustra, all in that top 5. So a lot of good riders in this field.
Indeed, and I really love the fact that we're going to see a great race from them. I think be interested to see who can climb at the end, and again, who gets that pacing right. So on the right-hand side, our Category 4 riders now have gone in excess of 2.5, near 2.6K. Our Category 3 riders ready for the race start. We're in with Maria Jose Zabala.
We are indeed. As the 10-second countdown begins, the power starts to crank up, and Zabala's around 3 watts per kilo. The power is now going down for this race start today. So away our Category 3 riders go on qualifier number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They hit this roundabout, and they will then take their time onto the main course as they swoop round that right-hand bend onto the course today. We are in with Golden Light, pushing on to try and make the front of this group, to ensure that this group keep moving and keep chasing that Category 4 group down the road.
And category 4 with that head start, leaving a little bit of distance now, 2.6k as we left them. So that'll be probably near 2.75k, the distance between category 3 and category 4. But remember, of course, these riders riding for prizes. Top 5 riders in each category receiving prizes once their rides are verified. And don't forget, of course, when we get into the finals, you can add in addition to that the team prizes as well. So all to put it down for, and make sure you stay in that group. And we're just seeing Emma, top right hand side of that screen, Ochoa at the moment just in a little bit of trouble, I think, off the back of that group.
Yeah, it's looking like that as well, isn't it? Now Ochoa, a good rider, but just got caught out there. She's just pushing on no matter. She's lifting her watts. She's trying to get back in that group, and I think that's going to be a closure to that group very quickly for Ochoa to get back in.
Well, Ochoa needs to make sure she gets all the way in there. You can see top left-hand side of your screen, the numbers are in black for the watts. That means that she's not in the draft yet. She needs to hit that draft and get into that pack. And it's worth that little bit of a kick, but they're coming up on to the climb. Top right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the little dots coming closer together and then opening up, because we are on this little bit of a drag that comes out from the race start. So at the moment, as our riders go over that 1 kilometer marker, it looks to me like Ochoa just been yo-yoed off the back, and Golden Light on the front here, wanting to keep the pace high and to start to stretch this race out.
Yeah, she is, isn't she? She's just pushing on that small climb. So we are 1.2 kilometers into this race. There is a small drag. It was pretty much for the first 4k in this race until they hit the base of that first climb. Nothing is particularly steep, but it is mainly up an upward drag, and we are starting to see that the pace is still pretty high, but it does allow for the occasional kick on the front to take effect.
Well, top left-hand side of the screens are the wattage numbers coming out from the riders as they continue to push onwards. Really interesting. Once you've gone like 60 revs per minute, that is a slow cadence, isn't it? That's just pushing it round, just doing a little bit of a push, just making sure you're dropping in there, changes down through the gears. Tandigan at 73, but again, still very much a time trial type effort.
Yeah, and I think indeed that's probably Tanningen's tactic today. We've seen that in the front of the Category 4 race, these riders not wanting to get caught and wanting to really try and stay out because they are the first start. And I almost think there's a decision of this group to see who can stay out and how long can you stay out before Category 1, Category 2 or Category 3 make the catch. And that seems to be some of these riders' motivation, Matt, to pretty much go into time trial mode from the start of the race.
Well, definitely won't get to grab your motivation where you can. Sometimes that's by having an extra espresso in the morning. Sometimes that's promising yourself a bit of gelato at the top of the climb. It might well be that you promise yourself an extra hour sat on the beach and reading your book. Who knows? Whatever it takes to keep you ticking. And mid-race, of course, having the riders chasing behind, that is some riders' preferred tactic, to have people chasing, to know they've got to keep on pushing. Me, I would much rather start at the back and have targets in front and chase people. Definitely you won't catch me time trialing. Definitely not a sprint to get on the wheel, rest, sprint and rest. Probably the absolute opposite of Emma. What tactic will our Category 2 riders do? Because they are the teams that are going to be chasing 3 and 4 on the road. Emma, who've we got?
So 21 riders on the start sheets today in Category 2. Team RT Cycle Zone Ladies won, also in those green jerseys. So we have Olsen in there, Jadlock, Tan and Kukkonen for Cycle Zone Ladies won today. But as we mentioned, a large number of other riders, and with 18 seconds to go, all pedaling and staying warm on that start line at the moment.
So as we run into our countdown, our Category 2 riders are readied.
They are indeed, with 5 seconds left.
So our riders ready to go. Here we go. Category number 2, up and away. The go has gone. It's time to put the pedal to the metal and to show us exactly how much they want that race win. You can just see big kick straight out and away. And let's see who is going to take away victory. Angie Parrott, one of our regular riders on the front with Jenny Sanchez. And it looks to me like this group mean business with some big watts kicked out already. So our category 2 riders chasing categories 3 and 4 down the road. Who's going to take that? This group, Emma, spread out with gaps opening up already at the back of that pack.
Yeah, but the gaps are being closed at the back as the gaps start to get pushed on at the front by Para and Sanchez. In fact, Sanchez kicking 6 watts a kilo there as she goes over the top of Para. Para responding, Sanchez, Reynard really wanting, it looks as though, to take this race out this morning and actually push on hard.
Wow, Lania Chinelli was the rider who took the win. A great climber, we know that. But great to see Elodie Reynard second place last week. Olsen in third place. Beria Serna in fourth. Jenny Sanchez in fifth. But I mean, it really is a who's who with Pardini, Lanteri, Para, Cordera. I mean, we've got so many good riders racing in this category. It's incredibly competitive. And they race each other week in, week out. And it means they know each other's tricks. They know what they're going to get up to. They know where the strengths are. But of course, all of our riders are developing, and we see riders moving through those categories and improving.
We do indeed, and we regularly see 8 or 9 of the women in this category 2 field take those positions in the top 5. So it is extremely competitive. And not too long ago, Matt, we saw a number of our category 2 riders progress into category 1 and are doing really well in that category and are holding their own and progressing even further. So this category 2 women's field, it's highly competitive, but it's fantastic for developing and progressing riders into category 1.
It is indeed. And I'm loving the fact that the category 1 riders, they just have to sit there and watch. There's nothing for them to do other than focus on getting ready for their race start. But the distraction of having riders up the road is going to make a big difference, I'm sure.
Yes, and some of those riders are a long way up the road now as we're in with Angie Parapardini is there, Tejeros is there, Sanchez, Antico, Hermassen. You know, these are all really strong riders and they are moving up now to just coming up to 1.7 kilometers into this race and pushing on and waiting to see what that category 1 race does behind them.
Well, I'll tell you something, it's going to go quick because it's category 1. They are very, very fast, very quick, but they don't always have it their own way. And I think the speed, I mean, when we had 3 categories, a number of these riders were in with that category 1, and now splitting to 4 categories, it does make a big difference. It just allows for that little bit of extra grading on the way through, and I think it's produced a great category 2 set of races.
It has, and what it's also doing is allowing people to race their own category. So rather than being who's got the quickest response to jump in with whatever group, actually these categories are now racing each other. And last week we saw this category 2 race field stay out and sprint with about a 30-second gap to the category 1 race group behind. So category 1 never caught category 2 last week. That 5-minute head start paid off for them.
Well, let's see what happens. Very different tactics in category 4. Now, we've seen a repeat of yesterday's tactics. Last week's tactics with Coking and Tandigan both going down the road. Now, if you've jumped onto the results for last week, you will notice that it was Tandigan that was given the win and Coking's result annulled for that race. And that means that when the verification was done, there was an error somewhere in the data, and it means that Coking wasn't awarded the race when it went to Tandigan. Now, Tandigan at the moment is in second position, again chasing Coking. So we'll have to see when we come to the results and when we come to the verifications whether that error has been corrected within the data. And it can be literally a wiring error. The riders who should have this absolutely dialed, it's category 1. Our category 1 riders lined up, our elite race field all ready to go. And we have 2 of our strongest teams, don't we, Emma, on the start line?
We do indeed. So Crank Sisters and Spartan Obstacles on the start sheets today. Fua and Brogan for Spartan Obstacles, Oliveri, Bauer and Garioni for Crank Sisters. But 36 riders in total on those start sheets today. So we are in with Pablo, and the go has gone for our Category 1 women on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Cup qualifier number 3. As this group of women push on, they take the roundabout and they move onto the course proper. This course is pretty much flat till they get to 30.2 kilometres, just that first climb coming at 4.3. So this pack are going to move fast and they're going to move furious, and they've already dropped riders off the back.
So our riders are away, heading down the road. Already looks like we've got one flyer trying to push on. Good to see we've got lots of people in. Doracchio doing the business up on the front. Always a quick starter. Rider who's taken a race or win before. Now Dega Mashandi, Jojo Bauer, Kiara Donny in the chase. Definitely riders who we know are going to be up there. Great to see that we had such a fantastic result when we saw the riders in Category 1. Karuk Kavedo taking that sprint. She's got a massive kick, hasn't she?
She has indeed, but nice to see Donny back in the pack. Matt, first race this year for us on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Indeed, a rider who's been riding very, very strongly, hasn't she? She's been out and looking at racing the best in the world, as well as on esports. Amazing to see that she's come back. I would have wanted a few more weeks holiday, I think, after the racing and training block she's just done, but clearly eager to be back on MyWhoosh.
Yeah, and fabulous to see her back on here. We've got a great field of riders in here today. Ortiz is here, Estrada is here, Donny, Sanchez, Cavedo, Brogan. Brogan is also another rider on form. Been absolutely fantastic. Brogan has through the December finals and through qualifier 1 and 2 in January. So a rider really on form at the moment.
Well, let's see just who's going to take it. Will it be that on-form rider, or will it be somebody different who maybe this time around shows us that clean pair of heels and heads off down the road that little bit quicker than anybody else?
Yeah, so we are in with Fua pretty much in the back, towards the back of this pack, but there is very little distance between the front and the back of this pack at the moment. And it's interesting to take a look at where the other riders are down the road. So our Category 1, 1.5 kilometres into this race. Category 2, 4.2k. Category 3, 6.5. And Category 4, 9.5 kilometres into this 35-kilometre race today.
And as our riders start to wind up, remember we have our segments coming between 2nd and 3rd kilometres for the first segment. Now, the times on the way through, the fastest time at the moment going through there was that of Tandigan with a 1:53. The fastest Category 3 rider was a 2.5 behind. That was Quintero. The fastest Category 2 rider was Elodie Reynard. Get this. 8 seconds down.
Well, I wonder. There was a big pack of Category 2 riders who came into that sprint finish last week together. Because the Category 1 riders never caught them, so they never had the ability to jump into the pack as it came past them. And often that is what splits that large pack of Category 2 riders. We mentioned earlier that there is real strength and depth in that Category 2 field. So maybe there are some different tactics at play today from Category 2.
Maybe just hang on, wait, then go with Category 1. They know that they're very close in ability, and it may well be that they decide to use some strength in depth there. At the moment, it's still well strung out, and maybe it was just a case that the group wanted to warm up. They're onto this climb here, heading into 5 kilometers in total underneath the wheels. So they're onto the first of the climbs, and that is shown with the yellow number 3.5. That's the percentage gradient of the ascent, but still plenty of climbing in. This is a work the way through the gorge here, heading out towards that top right hand side of your screen. Reynard, the rider who had a great ride last time round, looking to stretch this out. Can she make it stick this time? Well, we will soon find out. Remember, this race 35k in total, and Category 2 already 5.25 kilometers covered.
Yeah, the category two are 2.5k down the road from category one at the moment. So a stable distance as we watch Reynard continue to push with Fernanda and Sanchez and Kukkonen and Olsen at the front of that pack as they come up to the top of that climb. A little further back down the road, our category one riders are still a big group. There's a little bit of a push at the moment on that group at the moment. You can just see the stretch on that top right hand corner of the screen as they are about to approach and go underneath that 3 kilometre banner to signify the end of segment one.
So segment one done and dusted. And at the top of the standings, it's Rebecca Gilson, a rider who we know can solo to victory, riding very, very smart, I think, a lot of the time now by staying in the bunch and using that power just when she needs it and really maximizing that effect. Great to see riders who we've had with us for a long time, people like Catherine Fuhr up there in fifth position. We've got Jojo Bauer in there. We've got Rui Gonzalez in there as well. Jarioni. We talk about riders who moved up. I mean, Martina Jarione moving up from category two and very at home in category one, I think.
Yes, very much so. And it is indeed that pack of 23 category one riders who go through with the fastest time on that segment.
And it's Gilson on the front who is pushing. She's got that little bit of a gap at the moment. She's not at crazy watts at the moment. She's sitting just under 300, but she looks to be sitting comfortably at that. That heart rate dropping at the moment rather than raising, showing that she's just doing a little bit of recovery. 169 dropping down to 68, 67, 166 as the group come up to her. You can just see she's going to lift that pace a little bit, just sits very smoothly in with that group. I mean, that was a really nice reabsorption in there. She didn't panic. She didn't drop out the back. She didn't go on sit on the front. She just quickly dropped in about 5 or 6 riders down.
Yeah, she did indeed. And we've seen time trialing efforts from Gilson off the front in 2022. Not quite been on that form recently. And we've talked about different training programs and different phases of the season and different riders coming to the fore at different times of the year. And may just be that Gilson had some time off the bike or time off of training and is coming back now. So it will be good and interesting to see what Gilson can do today.
It will indeed. Category one continuing to push on here, and going to be interesting to see how that plays out as we go onwards from here. So watching Rebecca Gilson just tucked into category number one on the left-hand side of your screen, right-hand side. That is the second place rider. That is Ella Vink. So Vink at the moment in second position. You just see that group all together. And the rider that is missing here is going to be Tandigan, who took that race win, a verified race win last time round. Tandigan this time round looks like not in the mix, not in our top 7, 8, 9 positions. We're just going to take a look if she's dropped back down. But I think not in the race anymore. And that is going to be very, very telling. So she's got some more verified finishes in. I'm sure she has to qualify for the finals because I'm looking forward to seeing her in action. Now, Gilson continuing to stretch her legs on the front. She's on this climb here at 5K. We saw our category 2 riders on the same section. Gilson winding it up 5.3 watts per kilo. I've just seen it from Gilson, so nowhere near her limit, but enough to cause a gap to open and provoke a response. And it's Carmona who's lifted the watts per kilo up. So try and get back across. So Luz Carmona, another rider who we've seen racing strongly, started to try and close that gap down, gets on to the wheel as the rest of the bunch is brought up.
Yeah, they are indeed. And the rest of the bunch come right up to Gilson as Gilson pushes on again on those pedals to ensure that she doesn't go out the back of that group and she maintains her position at the front of that bunch. But that bunch are all together and there's around 23 riders in that group. So it's still a large bunch. And the people we are expecting to see in there, Estrada, Ortiz, Biarhead, Menezes, Garioni, Oliveri, Sanchez, Moreno, Brogan, these are all the riders we would expect to see in here. Strong, strong riders. And I am not expecting much to be done, Matt, here, pretty much until that final climb today.
Indeed, and we're now moving into segment number 2 for our Category 1 riders. This is a downhill segment, basically from 5.5 to 6.5. It's going to level off at the top of the climb, then we're going to go dipping down into the descent. It's the final section almost of this climb, isn't it, Emma?
Yeah, it is indeed. It is indeed the final sections of this climb as we are moving through that, and we come up this climb and we will just tick over the top during this segment and start to move down the other side.
As we see, our category category 3 leaders, right hand side. Get your colours right, Matt. It is the riders at the front of category 3 in that blue jersey. They're Golden Light, Barker, Rabaudo in here, Cabanata, the riders. So we have a group of 5 riders clear at the moment on the front, and they are the leading 5 riders. So it's Golden Light, Adriana Barker, Linetta, Cabanata, Lorenzo Rabaudo as well in that mix, along with Olivia Quintero, Barker. A right old mix there, I think, of different skilled riders who we see excel in different sections of the course.
Yeah, we do indeed, as Golden Light pushes on those pedals a little bit more and tries to create a bigger gap. But it was a nice little group there, and you know that group could have worked really well together as Barcode responds behind. Olive Cabanata is there and Rabaudo is there, but actually look at that, we're starting to see gaps. We're starting to see Giuliano has been dropped 14 seconds back, and now we are starting to see this one line on the road rather than a group.
Indeed, and the pressure is well and truly on here as you see Golden Light continue to stretch this out. We're just taking a little bit of a look on the left-hand side as the riders go through the end of that segment. So they've just come in and through segment number 2. It's another 1K segment, Emma, and it shows the terrain, doesn't it, with a 1:43 the fastest time.
It does indeed. So a little bit flatter today, but Gilson, Carmona, Manchandi, Moreno, Garioni, Sanchez, Rua, Bardescaya, Oliveri, Brogan, Del Rocco, and Morales. You know, this is that leading group in the Category 1 race coming through there together. And that group now still looking strong. You know, we're still looking to see. We've got 22 riders now in that group. And then it's the Category 2 riders coming through behind.
Indeed, I'm just taking a little bit of a check through for our Category 2 and our Category 3 riders on that split. Now, Category 3 riders on the split, I think, faster than Category 2.
They are indeed, but Category 1 riders at the moment, Gilson's put in a massive attack off the front of this pack. They've gone through and she is pushing hard, and she can see Jenny Tan, the first Category 2 rider. In fact, she saw her and she went straight past her. So Gilson on a drive at the moment. Gilson pushing on. She's pushing hard. We wondered where she was coming from and what stage of fitness she was at. But boy, she's fit again, and she is taking this race back to these Category 1 riders. Garioni is responding behind. Brogan and Bauer trying to do something about this, but at the moment there is a couple of seconds gap back to this group as the chasing group behind start to split and stretch to come back to Gilson.
Well, are we going to see an en masse regrouping here? They catch Gilson. Sanchez very quickly onto the pedals here, wanting to keep it high. They could pull clear 5 or 6 riders. This pressure, this attack from Gilson really animating the racing. And we are seeing damage being done to the riders behind. They're having to respond. There's no rolling round to the finish. This is all about trying to make this group up. And they're doing it, interestingly, not just on the uphill sections, but on the over the top and into the downhill sections as well, where although it's harder, you can really regularly catch people napping.
You can indeed, because the momentum is what takes you further and it increases the distance between you and the group. So often people aren't waiting and watching for you to attack on the downhill. Often this is where we see riders try and take a little rest, a little micro rest in the race. And often riders get caught out napping as attacks go on the downhill.
So here we go. Gilson reabsorbed in the front of Category 1 on the left of your screens. Elenia Cinelli on the right of your screens, the rider who took victory in Category 2 last week in the mix once again. These riders separated at the moment. It's currently not all that great. It's though it still seems to be holding at a very similar distance at the moment between 1 and 2. So not coming down substantially. Interestingly, when you compare it between the gaps right the way out to category 4.
No, that distance has not come down at all. In fact, it has pretty much stayed the same for the 15 minutes now, nearly, of racing that the Category 1 riders have been on the road. It is indeed different if you look at Category 3 and Category 4. We are now looking at 1.5 kilometres between them.
1.5k, that's 1,500 meters. 15,000 centimeters. It's a long old way. I tell you something, it takes you quite a long time to cover that from a standing start. These riders, of course, traveling at pace. So, category 1 in yellow, 2 in the green, category 3 in blue, and category 4 in the red. These riders are continuing to push their way in through, and at the moment are 1 and 2 category riders, category 1 and 2. Well, they are the riders who are still chasing, with category 1 leaders currently at just approaching the 10-kilometer mark. It's going to be 12 kilometers at the moment for our category 2 leaders. So still 2k separating these riders.
There is indeed, and we can see a big group in category 1 as we sit in with Embring. This is still a large group of 22 riders as they just tick under that banner being segment number 3. We are through the end of segment number 3. It is indeed a 1 kilometre segment. And we will see that indeed it is again that category 1 pack that has gone through the quickest. So Gilson, Menendez, Ortiz, Biarhead, Valedes, Carmona, Manchandi, Moreno, Gonzalez, Rua, Garioni, Embring, and Estrada, all going through within a second of each other, and some way back now to the rest of our riders.
So 22 riders in our leading group of category 1 riders, a big pack. They have strength in depth over that smaller group of category 2 leaders. The category 2 leaders really are up against it a little bit today because of the volume of riders in category 1 that are working together. And even if they're not making more pace, it means they're taking more rest. And that did... Looking at the screens, Emma, did you look at that and go, these guys are on it today? Because I'm not seeing that in category 1. What I'm seeing in category 1 is a lot of riders a long way across the road, the occasional attack, particularly by Gilson, stringing it out briefly. But most of the time, I think most of our riders are pretty comfy.
Well, talking about being pretty comfy, Matt, I'm taking a look at their heart rates at the moment. We're in with Jojo Bauer. Her current heart rate is sitting very comfortably at around 138. You know, she's got a lot of scope for movement on that, and she's got a lot of scope within her. So I would agree with you. I would say these category 1 riders at the moment have had a very steady start to stay. As we jump in with Angie Power, and look at the comparison there. Her heart rate's at 190. Parrot is pushing on, and she is making this hard for herself. In fact, it's a pretty strong pace from these category 2 riders today. They stayed clear last week, and they reckon they can obviously stay clear again if they keep pushing on. So Sanchez goes over the top of Para. These riders are holding between about 3.5 and 4 watts per kilo. This is a strong pace for these riders.
It is, and you're seeing Para at the moment just get absorbed into that group. Another strong move by Angie Para, another rider who we've seen racing regularly on the Sunday Race Club, and you can just see tucked nicely in there. Now, category number 3, we're seeing Ribaudo start to push clear off the front here. This is a big kick here because we're over 5 watts per kilo coming out here from Ribaudo. And there needs to be a response behind, or that gap will open very quickly indeed. Ribaudo over a third of the way through, nearly half of the race distance, in fact, at the moment at 16.5 kilometers. It's been left to Golden Light and Quintero, I think, to do the work.
Yeah, it has indeed. And Golden Light is indeed the one doing the work, with Quintero and Barco and Cabanata just following behind. But Golden Light is pushing on, and so is Ribaudo, as Ribaudo gets a gap now. That gap is 5 seconds. That's a good gap, but how long the chase will last from Golden Light behind and Barco, Quintero and Cabanata, I don't know.
It is indeed. Well, let's have a little look at kick from Ribaldo, continuing to push onwards here. This is really interesting to see just how the push goes, how this race plays out. Remember, 35k to cover, and the most important point, a point that Emma no doubt will be making repeatedly today, it's about who crosses that line first with that verified result.
Yeah, it is indeed. But I'm looking at this distance now between Category 1 and Category 2. Category 1 are very shortly going to come up onto the back markers of the Category 2 field. There's around 700 metres now before they start moving through that Category 2 field. And it's going to be interesting to see what the tactics are when that takes over, because we've got Barragan in there, Finori in there, and we've got other riders in there who may well try and jump into this pack and get them to carry them through.
Oh, I think that's got to be the tactic, hasn't it? If you are dropped, if you maybe don't have the start, don't panic. Wait, let that group come, because you know that you're going to be pretty close to the pace of those riders coming behind. Because we're just in, so Bardaskai is still in this group. Actually, Bardaskai, another rider at the absolute top of esports racing, and looking very, very good today again.
Yeah, it is indeed. There's a lot of riders in here. There's a lot of women in here who are at the top of esports racing and show us how it's done week in, week out. And a great joy to watch when we see the real power go down and the tactics come to play.
And just a quick note for you, if you're watching the screens on the right-hand side, you can see that Rebecca Gilson has 3 jerseys to her name. That's an indication that she's taken the 3 segment fastest times, little highlighted on the left-hand side there. So you can see Gilson highlighted in the pink there, the eye showing that's the rider that we're watching as well. And you can see she's got 3 of those segment jerseys on the way through, really showing that she is meaning business here today, an indicator that she's going through those segments very, very fast indeed, and doing a lot of the work.
Yeah, she is indeed doing a lot of the work. In fact, we've just seen one of the riders sit back on that pace and go through that group, and is now being caught. And there's some very difficult pacing going on by Del Rocco at the moment, really struggling to find the pace to stay in the group and stay comfortably in the group rather than get dropped off the back and snowball through the front. So really needs to think about managing that pace and managing that power on the pedals to ensure safety in that group.
So here we go through the end of segment number 4. The time to beat was only Reynard's 142. So you can see 142, the fastest time to the point when our first category riders go in and through, but incredible speed coming from the riders at the moment. But interestingly, category 2 now faster than 3 and 4. But look at this. All of our riders coming steaming through are category 1 riders mixed in with category 2, because that is about the pace of category 2 there. So riders like Reynald, Ribaldo, Cinelli leading through segment number 4, where they are on that little bit of a mission that Emma talked about to stay clear of category 1. And I'm just working my way down to try and find category 1 riders behind, and they're a long way back.
They are 8 seconds back. So category 2 group going through that 1 kilometer split, 8 seconds faster than the chasing category 1 pack. You know, we said category 2 were on a mission, and they really are showing the category 1 riders their coattails.
They are indeed, and Gilson not happy with that on the attack on the left-hand side of your screen, chasing after those category 2 riders just in front. She's going to want to make contact at about 500 meters or so, but look at this. Jojo Bauer has gone after her, and she's going to bring with her the rest of the riders if she's not careful. Bauer is trying to go across. She's got to keep this pressure up to stay clear. And Gilson, Bauer, time trialing together. Oh my goodness, that's a wheel I wouldn't want to be sat on. That would be a 3-up time trial I would not want to be part of. And Madonna Degamashani wanting to join that party at the moment. Could be trying to get across, but they are coming in 1s and 2s. And Gilson and Bauer here are ripping up the road.
They are indeed. And Brogan has also seen the danger, and Brogan's put a kick in, and so's Julie Sanchez. So we now have 3 riders clear: Bauer, Gilson, and Manshandi. Brogan is the one coming over to them. Carmona is also trying to go. But will this group stick, or is this just going to be a very long line on the road and they end up dropping one or two riders only off the back of the group?
Well, it looked like that was a sort of dream group if you were in there, but they've got rolled, they've got brought back together again. Now, that's going to have done some damage to people's legs. The question will be who can respond again if there's another attack, another kick. Remember, some riders can respond time and time again, can kick and kick and kick, and others have one big hit in them. It's a massive hit, but it is a one hit.
It's a one hit, but we haven't seen anybody go again as Ortiz, Brogan, and these riders just watch the front of this pack. They have got riders. They are about to start catching up the road. Only 19 seconds now to starting to see the back of the race fields in front of them. So the times are now coming down and they will have riders on the road in front of them. They will start to overtake, and that could in well play havoc with a large group of riders. There are 22 riders still in this category 1 race front group today, and starting to catch back markers makes things messy.
And they're on the right-hand side of your screen at the moment, the riders who are just in front at the moment. We are talking about 150 meters or so from Barragan on the right of your screen to Ortiz on the left of your screen. They're going to come in underneath the next of our arches, and that is the start of segment number 5. This is a 1K segment, but here comes category number 1 behind, and I'll tell you something, they are going to know they're being chased down here, but it looks like the pace has gone back out. Every time you see an attack, it goes up. Every time you see that rest, it goes back down again. And the category 2 riders need to sit, not panic, sit and ride at a pace. And I think that's what they're doing at the moment, and it is keeping them clear. They're still holding off category 1 behind.
They are indeed holding off category 1 behind, because category 1 behind, that's still a very comfortable pace. 180 watts, 137 heart rate. That's a very comfortable pace for some of these riders in this group. They are not motoring yet.
Well, they're not motoring yet. Let's see if they choose to do so. It could well be that they leave it to the very end of the climb. And we're a long way away from that at this stage in the racing. We're just about half race distance coming up for these riders at 17.5K. So they're not all that far from half race distance. However, at half race distance, category 1 have not caught the riders in category 2, not even the second group on the road, never mind the leaders.
They haven't indeed. And, this is pretty much a flatland section of the course today. So we are rolling through these flatlands with some slight inclines and slight descents, but nothing major at all, not until they get to 30.2 kilometers into this course. And that's where they'll start the category 3 climb. The category 3 climb at the finish today, 4.8 kilometers in length, with an average gradient of 5.4%, but exceptionally steep sections come out on that climb. We will see double-digit climbs before that finish.
Now, really interesting to see that we have got category 3 riders leading the time through segment 5. Category 3, not category 2 leaders, not category 1. Category 2 leaders, Elodie Radard and Elenia Cinelli, they are the riders currently sitting further down through that group. And the category 1 fastest riders are in 20th position or so as they go through. That is very telling indeed. The riders, you said, Evan, they were this tactic in the head to go out and stay clear as long as possible. Well, at the moment, the riders who are leading category 3 and category 2 are extending their leads on category 1.
They are indeed, and category 1 is having a comfortable middle section of this race today, and it's going to be interesting to see when they decide to come out of their comfort zone.
When or if?
Well, that is indeed the question, isn't it? When or if?
So our category 1 leaders on the road, there are 18 kilometers of 35 kilometers in total, and at the moment losing time to category 2 and 3 leaders out on the road. We've seen the odd attack, we've seen the occasional skirmish, we've seen a very quick response to pull that group down. There, top left-hand side of your screen, top right-hand side of your screen, you can see that the riders in Category 2 continuing to push on. They are chasing the leaders in Category 3 who are up the road and at the moment are at 22.45k. But you can see that these gaps really have opened out. Category 4, bottom right-hand side of your screen. Category 3, bottom left. Top right-hand side of your screen, Category 2 and Category 1. What should be the fastest group on the road? Not the fastest at the moment.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Category 1 have made 500 metres on Category 2 in 30 minutes of racing. So still a 2 kilometre gap back, and a 2 kilometre gap back between 2 and 3, and a 1 kilometre gap between 3 and 4. So there are still some really big gaps in this race today.
There are indeed. We're at half race distance, and they've got 500 metres back on the leaders of Category 2. That's not a lot. That's a fifth of the distance that was between them at the start, closed down by half race distance. But the profile, of course, time-wise, there'll be a lot of time spent on the climb compared to the time spent on the flat section, relative, of course, to the distances involved.
Very much so. And the power on the climb that we will see from our Category 1 riders will far exceed the power that our Category 4, 3 and even 2 can put out on that climb today.
So at the moment, we are here on Sunday Race Club, and we are bringing you the women's category race. My name's Matt Payne. I'm here with Emma Martin. Don't forget, of course, if you want to give us a follow, then it is Matt Fixer Payne on Instagram and on Facebook. Emma, where can we find you?
You can find me at Biking Emma.
And that's on the same platforms as well.
It is indeed.
And don't forget, of course, that you can go on to Full Speed events. And of course, whilst you're on there, make sure you go to MyWhoosh on Instagram, MyWhoosh on Facebook, my_whoosh if you're on Twitter, and give everyone a follow. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, and you can make sure you catch up with all of the action. We're not all that far away from the UAE Tour. That's coming up very shortly. Don't forget, of course, there's going to be lots of insider videos from there as well.
Yes, and if you want to be featured on that MyWhoosh YouTube channel on the Sunday Race Club, head over to mywhoosh.com and take a look at the events page. And that's where you can enter the Sunday Race Club. You'll find all the information you need in terms of what you need to race on and how you need to do it. There is indeed a full technical guide for you to read and a rule set, as well as a frequently asked questions page. Take a read, ride the platform, register to ride the Sunday Race Club, and come and join us here on a Sunday in the future.
That'd be great to see you down here. Now, just taking a little bit of a look across between categories 2 and 1. Category 2, we see an attack from Jenny Sanchez. She goes over the 22-kilometer marker as the Category 1 leaders were at 20.06 at that moment in time. But you can see the difference. Category 1 is still a much bigger but a broader group. Category 2, slightly less riders, but moving at pace with somebody always eager to take up the pace and to take up the attacking moves on the front.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Matt, the gradient under the wheels of those Category 2 riders is steeper than the gradient under the wheels of those Category 1 group, and they are moving faster. The KPH is higher in that Category 2 race at the moment. That pack are really pushing on, and they really want to stay clear again this week, and it is paying dividends for them at the moment.
It is indeed, and you can just see how good that performance by Category 2 is. by the distance that he's still hovering around 2K. Let's see whether it's the same when we get to 3/4 of the race distance. We're heading in for 2/3 of the way through the racing now. And at that stage, well, it's still looking like Category 2 are in command of their own fate. It's not left to what happens in Category 1. Category 3 now, great racing in this all the way through the qualifiers in January so far, as well as in our finals. And you can see Golden Light is currently just up the road, being chased down by Barker, Cabanata, Ribaldo, Quintero, all over the road here. Long, thin line, lots of constant attacking, some great riding. They're at nearly 25k of the 35k course covered. That means 10k to go, 6.214 miles in Imperial money as you go through. One of the very few conversions I can do in my head. And you can just see at the moment, as we come up to that 25k mark, you are going to see a real cracking final between them as we go back to Category 1. Looks like there's been another attack. No prizes for guessing who. It's Rebecca Gilson again. And who's responding? It's Gemma Brogan.
Well, she's responding, but Garioni is responding as well. And Garioni is just putting an almighty kick at 12 watts per kilo to try and close that gap. Garioni is going to tow Brogan across, and Carmona is there as well as Garioni. What a closure of that gap to Gilson. They really didn't want Gilson to do. Garioni goes over the top. Brogan is coming as well. Carmona is there. And that whole pack are coming now behind Gilson as Garioni continues to push on those pedals. Gilson sees that perhaps Garioni is going to go and works up and comes alongside.
Well, I think these two, if they work together, would do a great job of staying clear. Garioni putting a big dig there. She saw Gilson come. She thought, well, I'll go with her. Let's go. But then it didn't work out, and maybe just too wary of each other to race against and stay in that pack. But it's done damage behind. You can see all these people having to chase to get back on to the group. Going to be feeling the pressure as they come back on again, and that will have required a bit of effort to get back in, given the pace at the front. So another skirmish on the front, instigated by Gilson. Interesting to see who does the chasing. Garioni, going to be interested to see how she does on this final climb. She's a rider who has taken victory after victory in Category 2, now moving up to Category 1 and very much at home.
Yeah, very much at home here as we continue to see that group working really strongly now and all coming back together again. I think, though, they did lose a rider or two in that attack. So whilst the attack didn't go clear, the group did whittle down slightly. So we are taking a look. That Category 2 race continues to be a large group as well. They are now starting to come back a little bit to that Category 1 field, but still a strong ride by that group. Our Category 3 race is still a group as well, and that Category 2 race, we've still got a group of riders out there as well. So no real domination and no real attacks here, but good, strong, steady paces and pushing on by these riders today.
Well, just looking at this screen between Categories 2 and 1, and if you look at that screen, it has come down after that attack by Gilson. It's brought the group back in together, but it looks like we've got another rider down the road here. Just going to have a little look, see who that is. It looks like it is going to be Valdez who's gone off. So Valdez has gone in to the lead here. She's put an attack in here. Maybe thinks, well, with the pace going as slow as it is, I've got a chance to go away here and get some screen time, get some time on the front. And it's important, isn't it, when you're racing to actually experience that front, whether it's solo or with the group, and get a feel for what it feels like to be out there, because it is different.
Well, I'll tell you what, Matt, the rest of the field are not responding behind, and actually when the names who have won go off down the road, people respond. But Jose Valdez is actually having a good run at the moment. She's actually gone clear, and that group are not really picking up.
They're not. They're across the road a little bit. They're just starting to think about this here. So Maria Jose Valdez doing a great job on the front of trying to keep clear and opening the gap. Garioni and Brogan, again, the names that are chasing behind. Bauer trying to work hard as well. And now you see a response come from Bauer as Gerioni just sits in those wheels. But Valdez doing a great job here of keeping it clear. So come on, Maria, this is what we want to see. The attack has gone, and she knows she's only going to have 10K. 10K, we can all ride 10K, can't we?
Yeah, but Gilson is the one to attack Matt. Gilson kicked out 7 watts per kilo. She saw a 3-second difference and she didn't like it. So Gilson is kicked on and she's joined Jose Valdez. But the riders behind her coming as Gilson goes straight over the top and kicks again. She's kicked even harder going over the top now, and Jose Valdes kicks too. Manshandi is behind, but they've got 4 seconds now as Gilson kicks again.
So Gilson repeatedly goes, and Valdez has got the answer to go with her. This is a great move now because Valdez clearly feeling on form. You've got Gilson working hard, and all of a sudden, their panic stations have set in behind. They've hit the panic button because they've seen Gilson go down the road. They thought, oh, she's just going to chase her down. They'll stop. They haven't. They've pushed on now, and this is provoking a massive response behind. The counter moves are coming. It's Dega, Mashandi, Brogan, and Bauer. All of a sudden, the favourites are out there, and they're having to respond. And look at the damage behind. There's bodies all over the road.
There is indeed. As we go through the next segment, segment number 6, our final 1 kilometre segment, and really pushing on here. So Jose Valdez goes through in 1, Gilson in 2, a 2.5-second gap back to Manshandi, Brogan, Ortiz, Bauer, Del Rocco, Carmona, Quevedo, Bardescaya. It is absolutely starting to hot up now.
It is indeed. So Valdez's initial attack, Gilson's move going over the top, starting to open that gap up. But you can see that the damage that was done has not done enough damage. We're just going to take a little bit of a chat. I can't see our riders up the screen. Looks like they are back together at the moment. And I think that is the response that came from the hot favourites closing that gap down again, once again. But let's see what happens as we move on. Was great move by Maria Jose Valdez, and going to see if that is a portent of what's to come a little bit later on in the race. In this group at the moment, the riders are back in here. And I think it should be worrying for people like that this group is together. I mean, we've got Bauer still in here. You've got Gilson in here. We've seen them showing their nose in the wind at the front. But people like Bardescaya, Quevedo, they're riders who haven't done the work to chase down and are amazing climbers and can put that power down.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we've also lost Chiara Donny from this group as well. And so some big names now starting to get distance from the group. And we saw the attacks, and the attacks are really starting to whittle this group down. So we had 23 riders in this lead category 1 group. We're now at around 16.
Well, just taking a look across on the right-hand side of your screen, we've got Ella Venk in this leading group of Category 3 riders. The leading group, there is a 1-rider solo, and that is Mary Joyce Coking. But Coking is putting out numbers at the moment very similar to our Category 1 and 2 riders. And I think we're going to find that she's got an issue with the tech there that is driving her forwards at some serious pace. If those numbers are there, well, she's going to be rocketing up through those categories very, very quickly indeed. And Vink doing a great ride. Vink, of course, yep, you recognise that name. Of course, Michael Vink on Tour Down Under duty. So you can follow the UAE Tour guys there down there as our other Vink in the racing. That's Ella in the Category 4 race here on the Sunday Race Club. I wonder if he's watching.
I've no idea, but Ella Vinkin's one of our Category 4 riders, regularly in that top 5. You know, we've not seen her take a win in the last 3 weeks, but 2nd last week, 4th the week before, and 2nd in our December final. So I think she's probably going to be thinking, how do I win this category?
I would love to see a real battle in that Category 4 on the climb, because I think that's where the differences really start to show. And it's long enough climb for it to be really, really tough as well. Well, what will happen in 4, in 3, in 2, and in 1? All of our categories on the road. You're looking at category 1 in yellow, category 2 in green, and category 1 are moving at a relatively steady pace. I'm not sure it's quite looking at the scenery and enjoying themselves, but as Emma has repeatedly pointed out, heart rates are low. It
Yeah,
means they're not working that hard.
but they are picking up, Matt. They are not at the pace they were at before. They have indeed started to light the touch paper a little bit, light the fires beneath their wheels, and actually start to move on and really start to chase this category 2 field. Now around 1.2 kilometers between the front of category 2 and the back of the front of category 1. As we just in with Tajeros here. Tajeros, one of our category 2 riders at the back of that category 2 field, who is about to be caught up by this category 1 pack. And I would lay money on Tajeros jumping in with this group. Tajeros is a strong rider. She finished 3rd in our January qualifier number 1. So more than capable of trying to jump into the back of this group and making the benefit of the draft to stay here.
And doing a great job. I mean, that was a really smooth absorption there. She didn't go flying through the group. She didn't go right out the back of the group and then have to sprint. She's literally rolled her way nicely into the middle of that group. And that shows experience of racing and riding on MyWhoosh. And that's why it's so important to jump on in between the racing as well and jump on and get to know the courses, know the routes. When the new world comes back in, we're going to see a revamp of Arabia. For those of you who have ridden it before, you'll know it's one of our earliest routes. It's got some amazing terrain, some fantastic scenery. It was spectacular before. Some big dunes in there, big mountains, all of Dubai and Abu Dhabi features in there as well. But that is going to be coming back in even more glorious technicolor. It's going to be coming back in more detail, and it looks amazing. There's a sneak preview on the YouTube channels as well as on social media, so make sure you have a look. When that comes back, it's going to be worth riding that again to reacquaint yourself, even if you've ridden it before, with how it rides, because when you are racing, every little bit of knowledge is key.
Yeah, so on your screen at the moment, the next group to be caught is going to be the back of the category 3 races. We just drop over and we drop in with Vink and Fernanda, who are now on the climb, 31.36 kilometers of this race. We are watching the front of this category 4 race. Fernanda, Vink, these riders are pushing on. There's 3 here. No, there's 4 riders, all pushing on within 15 seconds of each other here on this climb now.
And you can see that the riders are really starting to wind this up. There are 4 watts per kilo. They're kicking hard as they come up on to this climb. Fernanda currently trying to stretch this out. But are we going to see Viguera Agudelo are going to be opening out? Agudelo now starting to wind up here. She's got Fernanda just behind. Then it's Vink in what is a chasing position. 2 riders down on Agudelo. It's Vink coming to respond. Look at this out of the saddle here, 68 revs per minute. And that is still reasonably high as we go into a 10% section. Now heading for 11% on this climb.
Yeah, it is indeed, isn't it? You know, Barco also is in here, Fernando, Agudelo, Vink. They are all pushing each other up this climb, and they are all working so hard to stay away.
They are indeed. Interesting to see those numbers as they go through now. Right hand side of your screen, you can see, I think that's going to be our next rider who's going to see the pack from category 1 behind. It's Cadena at the moment, who can see behind Menendez in that pack, just starting to close it down. About 150 meters or so, Emma?
Yeah, it is indeed just around 150 meters. That's all, and they're going to come round that sweeping left-hand bend. And if it's a long straight, they are likely to see those riders ahead of them. It gives them encouragement to push on a little bit harder and to make those catches and really start to tick those places off. So we're here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are in with our category 1 lead pack on the left hand side of your screen. It's a pack of around 16 riders at the moment. The pace has gone out and the heat has gone out of the constant pushing, but we're seeing constant pushing and a real pace now in that category 2 race at the moment. That's the race now on your screen. 30.75 kilometers now into this race. They are on the climb. The gradient is around 4% and it's changing dramatically as they take this right hand bend, and the gradient will start to climb again as it kicks to 12.5%. We are working really hard with this group and it's really starting to stretch them. Pardini, Reynard, Para, Fernandez, Olsen, Pardini, Lantari. These riders are pushing hard towards the front of this group. Barino, Cerner is in there as well. This group are now splitting. You can see the top right-hand corner of your screen. That green group that was a large blob over the road is now a big, long snake with riders getting dropped off the back as we drop back in with this category 3 group who are about to be swallowed up by category 1.
And as they do so, they come onto the climb. You can see it rearing up in front. The rock walls close in around the riders. The gradient points skywards. And our groups, the leaders of all of our categories on the climb now. From category 4 to category 1, they're all fighting here. And interesting, Gonzalez Ruiz being dropped off. Badaskaya not in with our leading group who are stretching away into the distance. Looks like Olivieri in trouble just in front of Gonzalez Ruiz. And we're in with the leaders of category 1. It's Gilson, Menendez, Brogan and Bauer, with Cavedo closing very quickly indeed. Going to be really interested to see what Maria Valdez can do in this. Can she maybe capitalize on what is clearly good form? They're kicking very hard at the moment. So look at that, Amara Del Rocchio as well, a rider who's taken wins when we were actually going down in and around the courses in round Arabia. So looking interesting as they come on to the climb. Another big kick, gradient goes up.
It does indeed, and we've got these 4 riders we are looking at the moment, Bauer, Cavedo, Gilson and Brogan. We've got a little mix of different riders and a bit of a stretch down the road of this lead group. They are pushing on here at 31.08 kilometers, 31.69 kilometers. A little bit further up the road, we've got the front group of this category 2 race. This is the group category 1 are chasing, and they are pushing on. This is a large group as well, you know, Matt. Lantari, Pardini, Fernanda, Kokkonen, the riders we would expect to see as Gilson kicks off the front of this group. She's at 6.8 watts per kilo, but look at that, there's still a big group there.
And Rosario Estrada quickly in. Now, we haven't seen much of Estrada, and Estrada has put in some really strong digs in the past few weeks, but not necessarily been able to make it stick where she wanted to. But this group is so competitive. Gilson, one so dominant in this category, could ride away almost at Will, now starting to find that she's got a lot of competition here, and I think this is going to set it up for a very interesting last few kilometers. We're at 31.6 of 35k.
We are indeed, and Gilson is tapping away at the front with Estrada and then Shandy and Carmona, Cavedo, Del Rocco, Menendez. These riders are all in this group, and it is still a good-sized group as they are moving through this climb today.
They are indeed now. Just taking a look on the right-hand side here. Fernanda looks like she has done some damage to Vink, who quickly comes back onto her wheels. I think comes in and over. Then it is going to be another response. Gudelo is in there as well. So coking up the road, and we're focusing on the battle for what is second, third and fourth place on the road, as we suspect there's been a bit of a tech issue for coking that has changed those numbers. It'll be confirmed, of course, because remember, all the results verified on the way in and through, checked for the data coming from the riders. Well, one rider who we fully expect there to be loads of power coming out of is Gilson. She's on the front, and Menezes. Jessica Menezes at the moment is in trouble here. So Jessica has to push up here. This is going to be a big, big ask, but she cannot afford to let the gaps open.
No, as she goes past Antico in that Category 2 race, there is now a gap to 3 seconds back to Oliveri for the Menezes. Ortiz is up the road. Bauer is up the road. You know, this is such a long stretch of class riders that we see on the Sunday Race Club today.
And once we come through this left-hand turn, this long elevated roadway here on MyWhoosh, the riders know it's just going to keep on climbing. We've got a right-hand turn. You actually see the road up on your right-hand side, directly above our riders now. This is going to be real tough stuff. So right-hand side of your screen, Brogan now on the attack at the front of Category 1, being answered by David Mashani and Gilson. They're really continuing to push. Left-hand side of your screen at 33k. You can see Category 2. They're smashing chunks out of each other. This is what we want to see.
They are indeed. And here's a battle at the front of Category 2 and a battle at the front of Category 1. But you know what? There's only 600 meters now separating these two groups.
Are they going to be able to get this back? Are they going to close this down? Gilson, Estrada, Brogan, Carmona for Category 1 with Cavado right in that mix. Category 2, Kokoden, Pardini, Lanteri, they are all fighting for position. You've got riders that are really in the mix. It looks like you're going to see a real fight into the finish in all of our categories here on MyWhoosh. What a great way to bring to a conclusion our Sunday Race Club qualifier number 3. This is going to be that battle for Category 1. And look at this. We still got riders together and closing.
We have indeed. They're closing up and they're bunching up. We've got Manshandi, Del Rocco, Gilson, Ortiz, Oliveri. Brogan is in here. Brogan is kicking hard at the moment. She really is adamant she's not going anywhere as this pace continues to go. And attack after attack keeps coming from these Category 1 women.
And I tell you something, Gilson has just gone over the top of them at 7.5 watts per kilo, but has had to just ease back a little bit of a touch. But Shandy's quickly into the mix. You can just see this is not over until we hit the line. And I wouldn't put money on anybody being able to pull clear because of the way the rest of these riders have responded by taking it easy early on. It's left them with a little bit more in the tank to answer riders like Gilson, like Brogan, like Del Rocchio when they go on the offensive. This is going to be a really interesting finish. Meanwhile, in Category 2, Pardini is stretching her legs out as well and continuing to push here. So another great battle here. Categories of 4, 3, 2, and 1, all really fighting for that race finish.
Yeah, these Category 1 riders today pretty much doing a 10-minute effort at the end of this race today after having had a pretty steady pace up until that point. So who has got the best 10-minute power is pretty much going to dictate who gets to the top of this climb first. As we see Manshandi go over the top, Del Rocca is in here, Gilson is still here, Brogan is still here. There are still class riders waiting to take this win today in this Category 1 race. And you know what? They've got a lot of riders down the road ahead of them still. They are going to start catching as we see them come through this final segment of the day. There's only 1.3 kilometers to that finish line as Gilson posts the fastest time, but Cavado, Del Rocca, Oliveri, Manshandi, Brogan, Estrada, Ortiz, Bauer are not far behind, though. Look at that. Bauer has been dropped slightly, and then it's those Category 2 races.
And Category 2 races on this segment, which is on this climb. In the last 3.5k, they lost 50 seconds to Gilson, the fastest Category 2 rider on the right-hand side of your screen on this long sweeping bend around to the arch. You can see the chasers behind, but look at the numbers next to the names. They are top 15, 16 at the moment for the leaders of the Category 1, and that shows you how many riders are packing in front. Pardini's trying to hold them off here on the right of your screen. She's about 300 meters clear, but she's solo against a pack. It's an absolute wolf pack of riders chasing behind. We've seen the Dekernick wolf pack. This is the MyWhoosh Category 1 women's wolf pack.
It is a wolf pack, and there's only 850 meters to go for our Category 1 winner, which means there's less to go for the rest of the riders down the field in front. This last 800 meters are going to be frantic.
So Pardini out from that bridge. You can just see Brogan now, the nearest rider, just trying to push from Category 1. Nearest rider in Category 1, trying to fight a way up to Pardini. But look at Pardini. The gap to the archway is pretty big here, 200 meters or so. This is going to be really close. So Pardini, second rider on the road at the moment, the leading Category 2 rider. And remember, with that stagger start, it makes such a difference. Behind her, Kekkonen, just about to see a very fast chasing Brogan, I suspect, as she goes past Morgan Olsen. Lanteri is distanced. Brogan is chasing hard, but time is running out for these riders. Pardini at the moment is going to push her way up here. So let's see how she continues on these last few kilometers here today. So these riders are coming in. The last few meters are going to be ticked away. 200 meters to go now for Pardini.
Yeah, there is indeed. Pardini is coming up this climb now. She's got riders coming thick and fast behind, but she has not got long to go now. She's got just over 150 meters.
So as we watch our riders push their way up over to the top of the climb, this is about that run in to the finish. The first rider over the line in Category 2 is going to be all of the Category 1s. It's Veronica Pardini who takes that away. She's going to have that honour. The chase is on behind. It could well be that the battle is going to be Del Rocchio against what is going to be Kekkonen. Here comes Del Rocchio, the leading Category 1 rider. She's going to go across the line. She leads through Category 1 with Quevedo behind, Dega Mashandi, Brogan, Olivieri, all in the mix. They come through one after the other. Let's have a little look at those results on the way through. Now, over the line, Pardini was the first Category 2 rider, but in terms of overall times, which is how this is listed, look at that time. Again, under an hour's racing for Del Rocchio, who takes the fastest time overall in that Category 1 win.
Yeah, so Del Rocchio from Convedo, from Manchandi, from Brogan, from Oliveri to round out your top 5. Gilson takes 6, Bauer takes 7, and Ortiz takes 8th in that Category 1 race. In the Category 2 race, it's Pardini from Cerna, from Kekkonen, from Lantari, and that then takes a look at the Category 2 race as well.
So the Category 2 riders are really giving the Category 1 riders a run for the money. Great racing in all of our categories here today. Don't forget, this table currently live will become our unofficial results until they're verified. You can catch up with all of the results in all stages on the MyWhoosh website. So, end of a mad and manic qualifier race at number 3. Qualifier race number 4 is next week. The women's race will be Emma taking you through that solo as I'm off on international duty for the UCI, the governing body of cycling sport worldwide. And that means that Emma gets the pleasure of watching all of these riders in action. Make sure you give us a follow. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's been an amazing racing from myself, Matt Payne, from Emma Martin, from all of the great team at MyWhoosh. Stay safe. Enjoy your bike riding. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.